what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2004 Volvo V70 T5. Up front is a 2.3 liter turbocharged inline 5-cylinder, and down below is a 5-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Volvo V70 for two reasons. First of all, I've reviewed an earlier year V70, as well as I've reviewed the 850 that it replaced from the mid-90s. However, I haven't done this specific year generation before, and I'm always excited to expand my Volvo knowledge. But the second reason is that this car is cooler and more interesting than you might think, and I'm excited to share that with you in today's video. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zachpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 2.3 liter 5-cylinder turbo under the hood. Well, that's one of the things that makes this car very, very special. Today, we don't see nearly any 5-cylinder engines in production, but even back in 2004, they weren't that common. 4-cylinder turbo technology was starting to catch up, and so 5 cylinders were becoming obsolete in this era, but Volvo still stuck to it. Volvo and Volkswagen. Now, this engine makes 247 horsepower, which is a fantastic number. However, there were other trim levels of the V70 that made lower horsepower with the same engine, and that was just all down to boost pressure and tuning. The engine is fantastic, and the sound is wonderful as well. Now, this car is pretty stock, but when you put an exhaust on these, they sound absolutely gnarly, and I love it. Like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed automatic. I don't really have any complaints or notes or thoughts about this. It works well, and you could find these in manual if you wanted, but this is the automatic. Last but not least about the drivetrain, the V70 is front-wheel drive. So how's it feel to drive the Volvo V70 T5 from 2004? Well, it is a really interesting mix because there are very luxurious features and options in here. But would I call this a specific luxury car? I don't know, not quite. But it's not also a sports car, but it is sporty. There's sporty attributes, sure. It's a very interesting middle ground. It's in a category of its own, and that's not always a bad place to be for a car. Steering is a little bit heavier than expected, but I wouldn't particularly call it heavy steering. The throttle response is good. I really like the 5-cylinder turbo. That is the cornerstone of this car, and it is a pretty good experience. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. Off to the left is my coolant temperature and speedometer, and off to the right is my tachometer and fuel. On the steering wheel, we do have our cruise control as well as skip track and volume options. Pretty early to have that on the steering wheel, and I really like that. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, headlights and fog light switch, gauge dimmer switch, fuel cap release, and our fog lights front and rear. And moving on to the door, we have a latch to get in and out with this nice metallic finishing piece, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows below. Moving into the center, we do have our hazard switch surrounded by 2 climate control vents. And then we have our radio. So this is all integrated in the dash. I really like the appearance of this. I think it works really, really well and looks good. And I like that there's a button for news. Pretty cool little feature there. Then we have our climate controls. We do get dual zone climate. Again, very nice to see. This is a more luxury feature. And in the center, we get our little diagram man showing us where to send it. I've seen this in so many other cars. I feel like he's an old buddy at this point. 12-volt outlet. We also do have heated seats, which I am loving on this cold afternoon here in Wisconsin. DSTC, couple dead switches down there. And then we move to the shifter. The shifter is very run-of-the-mill, nothing too interesting here, although we do have a weather button down below. This is going to try to start you in a higher gear, maybe second gear, to help you out with wheel slippage and things like that. Really, really nice to see. And then we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the V70 T5 from 2004, and although this does have some pretty big cup holders, they unfortunately are not big enough for the big friggin' bottle. Then we do have a dual opening center console. You could open up a smaller point at the top or a larger bin down below. And then we gotta talk about the seats. The driver's seat has 3 different levels of memory seats. Absolutely love that. And like I said, they are power and heated, and they are very comfortable. They're leather, they're luxurious, and I am a big fan of these seats. My butt has enjoyed the time in them. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2004 Volvo V70 T5. And a couple of things to note. Headroom is really good. Again, it's a wagon, so you get that really nice long roof line. Knee space, not great. Now my seat is in my driving position. It's moved back a little bit, but still it's not wonderful. Even moved up into a more normal position, you still don't get a whole lot back here. It's not the most spacious wagon I've ever sat in or most spacious back seat, but it's also not the worst either. I do have vents on the B pillars, which is really nice to see. I have a 12-volt outlet down below, and to pull this down, I have an openable center console here, and then pop-out cup holders in there as well. So nice amenities back here. The same seat material carries on back here, so it is cushy and comfortable. It's just not spatially the best place I'd ever want to sit in. That's not the end of the world. Let's hop into the very back. We have some interesting cargo space and storage to talk about, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the V70 T5, big pull handle right there, and here we have the storage space. So right off the bat, you do get this giant cargo cover. Really like that. We do get some storage over here, which is very nice to see, and that's actually your fuse box. Pull this up, we have some storage down below. Love to see that. And you can pull this up as well for more storage. Now, that's all fine and dandy. This is plenty of space. This is one of the big reasons why I love station wagons, is the amount of space in the back. But what the owner was showing me is that if you come into the back seats, you pull this tab and fold this forward, and then you can see here, pull that, or first pull the headrest down, then pull that, and that will allow the seats to go fully flat and open up so much more space. Now, obviously you can do that on the other side as well. So from back here, look at how much space you get. You can remove that cargo cover and have basically a U-Haul's worth of storage in the back of your V70. So there you go, fold that up, fold that down. There you go, back seats are restored and cargo space is lessened, but really nice that you have that option. Overall, this is why you buy the wagon, ladies and gentlemen. You get so much space, and it is fantastic. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I don't love the way that these look, but I do think that they are very handsome. I love the long roof line. I just love wagons in general, so it's not crazy that I love the way that this one looks. I think I just prefer the slight boxiness of like the 90s and late 80s Volvos. But if they were making boxy cars in the 2000s, they would seem incredibly outdated, so I think it fits in for 2004. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Volvo V70 T5 from 2004? Well, this experience has been positive, it's been good, and I've enjoyed my time. But I think this car is really interesting because, as I mentioned with the driving experience, you can't really tie this car down to one adjective. Is this a sport wagon? Yes and no. Is it a luxury car? Yes and no. Is it a Sunday cruiser? Yes and no. And while that sounds incredibly wishy-washy and incredibly annoying, it's actually a very good thing. It's a Swiss Army knife. It can do so many other things. You don't have to settle into one thing. I love the Mazda Miatas. I love them. But if you try to take a weekend trip in them, you can pack about one t-shirt, one pair of pants, and maybe 2 pairs of underwear. This, you can fit so much in the back. The owner, Dan, fit a full set of wheels and tires in the trunk to go get them fitted for another vehicle. And yet, he was still making almost 250 horsepower hitting boost of a 5-cylinder the whole way there, having fun, enjoying the car. Is this a weekend car? Yes. Is it a daily commuter? Yes. And so what this car really does is it replaces negative with positivity. It doesn't say, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. It says, Let's do this. Let's do that. It's a best friend that's down for anything at any time. You can call him at 3 a.m. and say, hey, I want to go fight a raccoon out in the woods. And instead of saying, oh, that's a bad idea, Zach, don't go fight Ricky Raccoon out in the woods of Paramus, New Jersey, he says, let's do it. I'll come with you. I'll sharpen my spoon. I'll be there in 5. That's what this car is. This car says yes. Yes, yes, yes. And it's those kinds of cars that you end up forming the bond with. It's those cars that you get stuck in the rainstorm and you tap the dash and think, holy crap, how did we make it through that rainstorm? It's those cars where the late night conversations have, maybe bad conversations, maybe negative conversations, maybe you get broken up with. But when you drive home and you hear that little turbo whistle and that 5-cylinder grumbling in the background, it's that reminder that life is going to be okay, that life is going to move on, and things aren't as bleak as they might seem in the current moment. That's what this car is good at, and that's why these Volvo wagons are so lovely. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Dan for letting me take out his V70 T5. I also reviewed his Mini Cooper John Cooper Works almost 2 years ago, if you guys remember that video. Absolutely wonderful to work with. I appreciate it. He also gave me a little cheat sheet for some specs and facts, which I always appreciate when owners do that. It does make a difference. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.